Yo, what's up dudes? Today I'm going to give my final review on Jigsaw the movie and actually go over a bunch of stuff with you guys in depth about the movie, things that you might have questions to, and explaining the ending to you guys. First of all, I want to say I went into this hyped up, I went in with an open mind, that there's some things that might have been changed from spoilers and all that kind of stuff, and things were, and a lot of things were different from what I was expecting it to be. So the first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to give this final rating of the movie a 5 out of 10 or a 4.5 out of 10. And I know this is going to be a lot lower than you guys thought, but honestly I had a lot of people before I watched the movie were saying this is lackluster, you know, we're all hyped up for nothing, it wasn't that great. And honestly guys, it really wasn't. It's not Saw 3D type status, but it's not that great, and there's a lot of unanswered questions. And there's a few questions that I wrote down for myself and I answered. So is there going to be a sequel? Lionsgate said yes, if it does well, there will be a sequel. So it is topping the box office right now at 20 million, 22.1 million actually. So we are going to be getting a sequel, and hopefully they answer these questions. Now Logan as Jigsaw. This is the big thing that I had a problem with. We have had no reference at all in 10 years about Logan being Jigsaw. This is absolutely insane how they started a legacy together, spoiler alert, at the end where John Kramer shows Logan the bear trap in the trailer. He says that they started a legacy together. Maybe Saw 8 Legacy as an Easter egg reference. The problem is we have no reference at all to Logan in the entire series. There is no other known accomplices besides Hoffman, Amanda, and Jill Tuck, and Jigsaw himself. Bringing us to our next question, what happened to Hoffman? This is supposed to be a sequel to Saw 3D set 10 years later. There are no mention of Hoffman, no mention of Amanda, no mention of Jill Tuck other than she owns the barn. That's it. He wasn't mentioned at all in the movie, even though he was Jigsaw at one point. The story wasn't that great, and I felt like all this hype was for nothing. The traps barely had any gore in it, but we don't really need gore to make a good movie, but it is a Saw movie. The spiralizer trap barely had any gore footage. It was just like 3 seconds of him being cut up, and then he was just spit out like chewed bubblegum and blood. And then Ryan was just screaming his ass off throughout the entire movie. I want to go on a bit of a rant here. I want to hate this, but at the same time I can't because I've been waiting so long for this. It's just, guys, you know, when you're waiting for a sequel supposedly 10 years after the last movie, there's no mention of anything from the last movie. That Hoffman wasn't even part of this. There was just nothing. That really pissed me off. So I'm going to go over right now the chronological events of the movie from start of the movie to the end. And this was just random notes I was writing down as I was watching the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, you don't want to know anything that happens, please disregard this video and do not watch it past this point, because I'm going to be going through chronological events from the first part of the movie to the last. So we start with a car chase. The opening sequence where they throw the little spike trap out, car crashes. It's a prequel to Saw 1 played in reverse. The Bucketheads must give a blood sacrifice. Their red little indicator on their head turns green. Edgar Munson was friends with Halloran, the detective, and asked for Halloran before starting the game in the beginning of the prequel, in the beginning of the car chase, I'm sorry. Okay, so the Mitch bike thing. Mitch sold a bike to a kid who had an accident 10 minutes later. Carly was a purse snatcher and stole Logan's wife's purse. She falls and has a heart attack, I guess. There wasn't really anything saying how she died. Carly was injected with acid. Her face melts. And another problem I have, guys, if this is set 10 years before Saw 3D, 10 years after, I'm sorry, but this is supposedly Jigsaw's first game, right? Jigsaw's first game was the bathroom trap, or actually Cecil's from Saw 4. But in all those traps, they had a tube TV. It wasn't an HD TV. And in the silo trap, how was this 10 years ago? Jigsaw used the tube TVs in the traps. Billy's eyes also light up. That's something that just doesn't make any sense to me. Going forward, Ryan's leg got trapped and he needs to pull the lever to free Mitch and Anna in the silo trap. In a flashback, Eleanor, Logan's wife, sister, Eleanor visits a Jigsaw worshipping website and people are saying she's obsessed. Going back to Ryan, he pulls a lever, leg cut in 3 slices, the silo victims are freed, and they go back to Eleanor's studio. It is filled with Jigsaw traps. They are very suspicious, but she is not the killer in this game. Eleanor's hobby is collecting Jigsaw traps. Keith is taking pictures of them and watching as Logan and Eleanor in her little studio with all these traps. And Edgar was actually hospitalized because he was shot in the chest in the beginning of the movie. He was injected while he's in a coma in the hospital and robbed. Going back to the spiralizer trap, Mitch sold a cycle to the boy who died when the brakes were faulty for $600, saying that the bike was in pristine condition. Now we find out that the kid was John Kramer's nephew. The spiralizer cycle is the same one that is used in the trap, but the brakes, however, work perfectly fine. Carly stops the bike, but the rod breaks. Mitch is sliced up, barely any footage, and he gets spit out in a pool of blood. Next up, we have Edgar and John's coffin. That is the big reveal. John was robbed. We don't know where John went. There's no location of his body. He's gone. Okay, and Edgar was put in a place and they had a puzzle piece cut from him. Now Logan says to Halloran, trying to frame him, Eleanor finds the barn trap and Halloran follows right between her and Logan going into the barn. Halloran's just kind of looking out, seeing what's going on, you know, investigating. Anna tries to escape the barn trap and Pighead gets her and Ryan. John Kramer is shown in the new bathroom trap that we've seen and puts them in there. So we find out Ryan killed 3 people in a car and lied. That's from when the 2 cars crash and they blow up. He had part to play in that. He was fighting with the driver and basically he fucking crashed and boom, shit blew up. Next thing we find out, Anna was John's neighbor. Anna suffocated her baby because I guess she couldn't take him anymore and framed her husband because they fight. He hangs himself in the mental ward, and that's the person we see fighting in the mental ward, trying to get away from people. So Tuck's pig farm, Jill Tuck, her family owned the pig farm, and that's why it's just called Tuck's Pig Farm. So detectives find a puzzle piece of skin in Halloran's house. The detective that you see holding up the jigsaw pieces cut from victims in a plastic bag, those were planted by Logan in Halloran's freezer. They find that out and they're like, oh shit, Halloran's Jigsaw, we gotta get him. So Logan and Eleanor investigate the barn trap. John gives shotgun to Anna and Mitch while this is all going on. The shotgun shell is considered the key to freedom, he tells them. Eleanor is acting crazy, saying Jigsaw lives forever, and Halloran finds them while this is all going on. They get into a big fight. Anna tries to shoot Ryan. The bullet explodes backwards and a key was inside the shell the whole time, the key to freedom. This is another big problem I have. What happened to Ryan? Is he chained and leave there forever? We don't know. Halloran injected he was walking around following them after a fight and Halloran was walking forward and all of a sudden he just gets stabbed. Sorry about that, my phone went off. With a fucking needle and he falls down. And then basically he wakes up in the laser trap with Logan. They need to confess. Halloran chooses Logan to go first and Logan had no control of it. Logan messed up John's x-rays, which would have helped his cancer. Lasers fall on Logan's head, blood squirts from his neck, he appears dead. Halloran confesses he put innocent people away and innocent people died. Logan wakes up, the device was a fake. Logan says, I am him. He frames Halloran. 10 years ago, a game was played, and basically Logan explained how the bodies were never found. Logan was one of the Bucketheads because of the x-ray mess-up, but John decided to give him a second chance. Logan, 10 years later, recreated the same game with Halloran's criminals from failed cases. Edgar killed Logan's wife. Halloran didn't catch Edgar and put him away, and Eleanor will provide Logan's alibi. Halloran gets face sliced into pieces. End game. Another thing, in a flashback, Logan taught John never to come from anger or vengeance in his game, but Halloran didn't get a chance. Logan just straight up fucking murdered his ass. There's no mention of Hoffman, Jill, Gordon, Amanda. There is no mention of anything. There's no mention of Ryan dying. What happens to Ryan? He's just chained up, his leg's missing. There's nothing, guys. I don't know what to say. We have so many missing parts of this movie. There's so many plot holes, so many different questions I want to ask, but there's no answer, and we're not going to know till we get a sequel, if we do get a sequel. And I understand why so many Saw fans are half and half on this movie. So many people loved it, so many people hated it. I'm right between it. I mean, I kind of feel like the movie was good, but at the same time, I kind of feel like they forgot what the fuck they were going for in this movie. It was supposed to be a sequel 10 years later to Saw 3D. No mention of anything in Saw 3D. No mention of Hoffman. He was the Jigsaw killer for how many years? He was in the fucking detective's office, and they still never said anything. They couldn't have just been like, oh, well, Hoffman was the last one. He's dead, so how is Jigsaw still alive? And da-da-da-da. But there's nothing. Maybe they're saving this for a sequel. Maybe they're going to make a sequel and touch on these things. And maybe the sequel is going to have nothing to do with this movie. And another big thing, guys. What the fuck did Logan do after this game was played? Logan slams the door shut and we don't ever see him again. There's nothing after the movie either. Oh, man. I don't know how to feel about this. So what happens to Logan? This is the big question. Will he come back as a sequel and he will be the new Jigsaw for however many films? And what is the next film going to be called? Jigsaw 2? Jigsaw 3? Saw 9? We fucked up Jigsaw's name. It was supposed to be Saw 8. Okay, I gotta calm down. Alright guys, tell me what you think. I'm sorry this has been kind of a longer video and one I haven't really made in my best way, but I just had to rant about this. This is something that's been bothering me for a while. I had to get it off my chest. I just do not know how to feel about this at all. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Give me some questions so I can answer them. I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you do enjoy these Jigsaw videos. And you're goddamn right, if I find any suspicion of the next Jigsaw being filmed, or Saw 9, whatever you want to call it, I will be following it from day one, no questions asked. Thank you everyone who has been here from the beginning. Thank you to all my subscribers, my fans who have been here from the beginning. This has been a wild ride, and you know what? In the end, it was half worth it, and the other half is saying this was a big letdown from a long-awaited Saw fan who has been in this lore and studying it and hoping something would be shown from the past. But there's nothing mentioned from the past, even though this is set fucking way before Jigsaw's first game. Enjoy your night, everybody.